Before you guys decide to go out there rioting and looting out in the streets, just keep in mind that this is my personal list, my personal opinion, my perspective. I guess I probably should have changed the title to my top 5 favorite toy channels on YouTube, but just stating that they're the top 5 I think has a better ring to it. As is always the case, let me know your top 5 down in the comment section. What are the top 5 action figure channels that you like to tune into? There are some great channels out there, and I'm very curious to see what you guys have to say and how we can compare lists. So let's get straight into it. Let's not waste any more oxygen or saliva. These are not numbered, so I'm not gonna number them 1 through 5 because that seems a little bit demeaning. All I will say is these are the top 5 that I love to watch personally, and I thought it was only fitting to start off today's list with Robo, aka The Fwoosh, which is probably one of my all-time favorite channels just in general, not only for action figures. He has some down-to-earth gritty comedy, and one of my favorite things about this content creator has to be that he does not rush his content. There are times when he pushes out some of his videos. I know we've gotten used to his weekly updates, for example on Saturday mornings, but there have been times when he pushes out his content till Sunday, just because he might have personal stuff going on or family matters to take care of. But I love that he doesn't rush his content. He could have probably easily put something together for Saturday, but he's always a guy that favors quality content over quantity. So I really like that about him. I appreciate that. On top of that, like I said, he has great comedy. He's very down to earth. He doesn't get full of himself. The other great thing about it, and probably my favorite aspect of the channel, has to be the play dates that he does. He usually shows off his custom work or a lot of the fodder that he's been using. He shows off a lot of third-party accessories or custom figures that people send to him, which is a really nice touch for a big content creator like himself, that he's kind of giving shout outs to all of these smaller creators. And they usually send him some accessories here or there, or like I said, some custom figures, and he'll give them a shout out and he'll post their links in the description. So it's really nice of him to do that. As I said, he just has great content. It's very unique. He definitely does not follow the same formula that a lot of other channels follow, which is just basically farting out content, the same old unboxing, here's articulation, here's this, blah 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 blah. He really does try to give us unique perspectives and unique takes. I don't always agree with his point of views. There are times when I kind of disagree with some of what he's saying in terms of defending a lot of OMs and things of that nature, but that's okay. I don't have to agree with everything that he says for me to thoroughly enjoy his content. If you guys are really interested in him, I definitely suggest you guys go out there and subscribe to him. Like I said, one of the best content creators out there on YouTube. I suppose a lot of the things that I said about Robo definitely apply to the next channel. We have Toy Shiz. He's a very relatable content creator, and one of my favorite aspects when it comes down to the channel is how this dude is basically like a database for pop culture. He knows all of the references, he knows all of the source material, at least most of it. I would say 95% of the figures that are coming out, he's very familiar with the source material. He's very familiar with some of the more popular comic book runs. He's familiar with the animated series, the shows, the movies, all of that good stuff. And that's on top of all the knowledge that he has regarding the action figures, the body molds. He knows when OMs are reusing, particular body molds or sculpts or maybe body parts. So he's very knowledgeable on both fronts. Another great aspect of the channel is how up to date he is with all of the news. As soon as something gets announced, he's having a video within maybe the first 40 hours. And on top of that, he always has all of the pre-order links up on this community tab. So if you're subscribed and you get notifications from his channel, you'll know this up front. As soon as something goes up for pre-order, especially those figures or those lines that are going to sell out, he usually keeps up to date with that. So if you stay tuned to his channel, he'll always hook you up with that stuff. Another great feature is the fact that he always has links for clearance sales or action figures that are on sale, which is great. for those collectors that might have missed out on that figure or were waiting for it to drop in price. They didn't want to pay full retail and they wanted to wait it out. And again, he does a great job when it comes down to hitting us with those links. So even though he does make amazing content, there are extra reasons to be subscribed to him. Having him in my top 5 was definitely a very easy choice. The next channel on the list would only interest you if you're a hardcore DC fan, or if you're just interested in watching DC content in general. But we're talking about Brad, the DC Universe Geek. As if the name didn't give it away, Brad's point of emphasis for his channel, or really his collection, has to do with DC. He's a huge Superman and Batman fan, and I really enjoy his content for a number of reasons. Obviously, he does stick with some of the main lines, for example, the DC Multiverse line from McFarlane, or some of the imports like Mesco, SH Figuarts, things of that nature. But he also does the not so collector friendly action figure lines. For example, he has done a lot of Spin Master reviews, which is something cool. It's kind of a fresh new take. Not a lot of action figure collectors are reviewing these smaller lines or these smaller scales that are mostly geared towards non-collectors or maybe children that like to play with these. But from time to time, Spin Master or some of these other companies might make items that do appeal to the collector community. So it's nice that he decided to kind of just open up his horizons a little bit more. But very similar to Toy Shiz, he is very well versed when it comes down to the figures that he's reviewing. He knows where they're from, whether it's based on a film, a series, and most particularly comic books. He's very well versed on some of the more popular runs. So whenever he's reviewing an action figure that is primarily based on a comic book, as I mentioned, you'll have some knowledge that other content creators just don't, because they don't really read too many comic books. But DC Brad is definitely a true fan of the franchise. On top of all of that, I think his charisma and his personality really pop. He always seems to just be enjoying the content that he's making and the product that he's reviewing, and that really shows through in every single one of his videos for sure. The next guy that I definitely had to include in today's list has to be Pixel Dan. He's one of those few reviewers or action figure collectors that still goes retro, which is something that's really nice. I personally don't collect retro action figures anymore. I lost a lot of them when I was younger, but it's nice to see that. He's probably one of the few collectors that I consistently watch that has a lot of knowledge when it comes to retro action figures. Yes, he does collect a lot of the modern lines, but he does know a lot of like the retro He-Man, a lot of the retro TMNT stuff. He owns a lot of it. He's shown off his collection a few times, and his personality also shines through when he does his reviews or any type of content. Even though he does run a pretty big channel, he still seems to be the same individual from way back when he started the channel, and he has always come off as a very humble guy to me. I also really like the fact that he's willing to do some crossovers. We've seen him here and there on other channels, which is really a breath of fresh air, especially nowadays where you don't see it as often, or maybe it does happen but not as consistently as some of us fans would like to see. I also really like the fact that he can get really professional. I saw one of his newest Toy Fair videos where he did some interviews and he showed some of the new product lines, and he did ask some pretty hard-hitting questions. I mean, he didn't go directly at the creators or the OMs or the people that he was interviewing, but he did ask some pretty interesting questions. I thoroughly enjoyed those videos, and overall, like I said, he's definitely a guy that you have to subscribe to and keep those notifications on, because he's always uploading some absolute bangers. The final channel that I had to include in here had to be Anthony Customs. It's another one of those channels that I tend to disagree a lot with in terms of his personal opinion or his personal perspective on, the OMs and things of that nature and some of the figures that he reviews. However, credit where credit is due. Again, I don't have to agree with everything that he says, but he makes some great content. You know that he's going to be consistent. He's not going to waver in his personal opinions, and he doesn't sugarcoat it, which is another thing that I really like about his content. He has nothing but hard-hitting facts. He definitely does not shy away from speaking his mind. One of my favorite things about the channel definitely has to be kind of his offbeat humor. I don't think it appeals to everybody, but if you can get behind his dark humor, you can enjoy his content a lot more. But as I mentioned, consistency, you know exactly what to expect from him. He also varies what he collects on the channel a lot. He doesn't just stick to one particular particular line, which I have no problem with, but it just gives you more of a broad range of different lines to look at, especially if you're somebody that likes to dabble with different lines, whether it's Marvel Legends, the DC Multiverse, or any of the imported figures. And as I mentioned previously, his opinions and his takes are unfiltered, so you're going to get nothing but his pure unadulterated opinion, which is definitely different from other channels out there. But as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, this is just my personal opinion. This is just my personal taste on display. Let me know down in the comment section what you guys enjoy watching in terms of toy channels or in terms of action figure collectors. I know that there's plenty of other different channels that I enjoy watching. I just couldn't fit all of them into this particular list. I might make an honorables mention list or something along those lines. But anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you guys enjoy the content, hit the like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you.